getting a lot of information about how the technology of our breath works and the oxygen effect. And it's quite incredible the more I delve into this, how profound an act of breathing can actually be on your day to day life. I've been delving into the works of Patrick McKeown, and he talks about something called your BOLT score. Now, your BOLT score is something that you can develop, or it's something that you actually have naturally. Essentially, you take your breath in naturally and then you exhale naturally. As you exhale, you hold onto your nose and you restrict your air and oxygen from coming into your system. Now, the moment you feel any kind of urge to breathe, the that's the end of the task essentially. So you don't want to be striving or pushing for any particular air. It's not your maximum oxygen hold in any way, shape, or form. It's about the moment you feel any urge to breathe, you stop holding your nose. Now, if you find that at that point that your oxygen, that you feel like you need to take a large deep gulp of breath in, then you've gone too long. But ultimately, the idea is if you go under 25 seconds for that breath hold, you're probably not at optimum levels of breathing patterns. In other words, you're suffering from some form of restrictive breathing or air restriction when you're awake and when you're asleep. And I found it really interesting. I'll actually post later on, I'll post a little bit of an explanation from Patrick McKeown himself about what this BOLT score is. And there's a number of ways that you can go about developing this, because we've developed into a society of doing a lot of stress related short breaths from our chest. And what Patrick talks a lot about is doing soft, elongated breaths solely through the nose and from the diaphragm. And a lot of people talk about this. A lot of yoga practitioners talk about this. And what seems to be kind of a little bit of a miscommunication in some parts is talking about the breath from certain parts biomechanically or physiologically, but then not talking about the intent behind how to conduct yourself biomechanically, should I say. So a lot of people talk about diaphragmatic breaths, but how do you approach that diaphragmatic breath? So it's about long, soft breaths at the same time as doing these long diaphragmatic breaths. So a way that I've learned how to kind of be more conscious of this breath is to be able to breathe for 6 breaths throughout 1 minute, which essentially is a 5-second breath in, 5-second breath out, and just being conscious of it. So the idea is to really, over this next minute, what we're going to do is do a 5-second breath in, 5-second breath out 6 times. And that's just simple with trying to keep the oxygen not too viciously coming in and not too viciously coming out, but just keeping it throughout the diaphragm and really gently. So let's just go for that for 6 times and we can do it together, okay? So starting right now with a 5 breath in, 5 breath out, and I'll continue with you doing it on your own now. So that's just enough to calm down the nervous system and the blood pressure. And what this fellow has also found is people over men over the age of 40 uh, have really struggled in this Bolt score. In fact, they suffer. There's a tremendous upward trend of men over the age of 40 who suffer from sleep apnea and you know conditions like that. It's because of this chest breathing, and they struggle when they're asleep also to have effective breathing mechanisms. So I'm going to continue to investigate other forms of therapy when it comes to being able to conduct your breath in a functional manner. But I'm finding it super fascinating, and I'm just going to keep on delivering information to you as I start immersing myself in this world. Because the thing I find most fascinating about this world is it affects every single one of us each second of each day. So each second of each day, we have the opportunity to live more effectively and more profoundly. Now, think about that for a second. You know, we can do our lunges, we can do our bench press, we can do our squats, but really, breathing in and out has the opportunity to be able to just live your life in a more optimal way. So let's try and do that. And the first way to do that is to just take those really, really gentle breaths for 5 seconds in and 5 seconds out. Let's try that. Cheers.